You are truly the finest group of people I have ever had the privilege to work with. Before I retire to my filet mignon and the aforementioned looser belt, a few words about our honorees tonight. Jennifer Brooke and Beatrice Alda, it's a little dark, but I think I see you right over there, are not only extraordinary filmmakers who are using their talents and their resources to tell our stories, but they are also leaders and examples within their community right here on Long Island, and we are thrilled to be able to recognize you both tonight. Indeed. Harvey Milk. There is not a single one of us in this room tonight who does not owe a debt to Harvey Milk. I grew up a political animal. I started delivering literature for political candidates when I was 7 years old in Nassau County. I read about Harvey long before I came out of the closet, and his story inspired me, and his story gave me hope. My partner read The Mayor of Castro Street 16 years ago. He says it was 15 years ago, but it was 16 years ago. As a recently out college student in upstate New York, searching for his voice, and Harvey's story inspired him and gave him hope. Long before there was a Sean Penn and a brilliant movie that introduced the world to Harvey, he was making many of us in this room dream higher, and many of us in this room work harder. We are so honored to have his nephew Stuart here with us tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Stuart, for traveling here so long to be with us. And finally, in just a few months, on August 8th of this year, I get to celebrate a milestone. How is this working up here? I'm not looking over here, but it's scaring me just knowing it's over my shoulder. I'll be celebrating my 20th anniversary as an out gay man. Oh. Applause not anticipated, but appreciated. I know this date because I kid you not, I came out of the closet on the Long Island Expressway on my way home from a Mandy Patinkin concert. As a side, I told Mr. Patinkin about this a couple of years ago, and he was thrilled to know that he had something to do with my coming out of the closet. I tell you this tonight because I realized that on that day, I came out 20 years ago, Richard Burns was the executive director of the New York City LGBT Community Center. In other words, until about a month ago, for my entire life as an out gay man, Richard has been at the helm of one of the most important LGBT institutions in the entire country. When I needed a place to dip my toe in gay waters, so to speak, the first place I volunteered was the New York City Center when Richard was the ED. Years later, when I was going through a dark period in my life and I needed a 12-step program, I found one at the New York City Center when Richard was the executive director. Most importantly, 11 years ago, when I was an organizer at Gay Men's Health Crisis, and I need to say Marjorie Hill, who's the current executive director of GMHC, we are so thrilled and honored to have you here tonight. It means so much to me that you are here with us. When I was an organizer at GMHC running a Get Out the Vote program, I met my partner, newly arrived from upstate New York when he was a volunteer for a program called Promote the Vote, a project of the center when Richard was the executive director. Yes, Richard can even lay claim to finding me my partner. We now have a center right here on Long Island. It's one of the reasons we're here tonight, to celebrate this amazing center. It has dances, it has networking opportunities, It has 12-step programs and mental health services, a center that has transgendered services, programs that target Latino and African American communities, and we owe Richard so much for creating the model, the foundation on which we in this room build, and we are so proud that Richard comes from Long Island. This is a great night. So much has changed since the days when I grew up here. So much has changed because of the Long Island Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgendered Services Network. And yet, as is clear from my earlier update about Plain Edge High School, there is still much change we still need to make happen together. I thank you so much for coming. I am honored to be with you all tonight. I ask that you keep supporting this organization in any and in every way that you can. And I am so looking forward to a glass of wine and my filet mignon, so I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Now, during my career, I've worked at 4 or 5 nonprofits and have worked under 9, count them, 9 chief executive officers. I have liked many. I have loathed 1 or 2. After I have another drink or 2, I'll happily tell you who those were. But I have never respected one as much as I respect David Kilnick. Yes, indeed. Some leaders care about their organizations. Many work unbelievably hard and even lose sleep over their organizations, but few have made their organizations their life's work. David breathes the Long Island GLBT Services Network. David sleeps the Long Island Network, and much to his chagrin, David eats the Long Island GLBT Services Network. Food is something else that David and I have in common. I've witnessed a lot of relationships between CEOs and board presidents, the good, the bad, and the oh so very ugly, which is why I know how lucky I am and how blessed this community is. Please welcome my colleague, my friend, and my comrade in arms, the CEO of the Long Island GLBT Services Network, David Kilnick.